Hey guys, welcome back to Stygian. I'm Sylvester and I'm currently developing a PlayStation 1 style Lovecraftian horror game with some simulation elements. In this video I'll be covering continuing development with the first playable level, overhauling the mission system, internal testing and more. Okay, let's get into it. So for this month I basically picked up exactly where I left off in the previous video. I had a test excavation site that worked well, but now I needed to create the first mine that would serve as a tutorial. So this required quite a bit of thought and planning, as it was supposed to serve a purpose, that purpose being to test the player and to teach them how to play the game. It wasn't supposed to be too difficult and I don't want players to bounce off the tutorial straight away. I want them to understand exactly what they need to do and how to play. So I designed this to be pretty straightforward and have very few problem areas. These problem areas would test the player on specific skills they would need later in the game, such as getting through tight passageways and navigating on all axes available to them. So to further help the player, I also added these little lanterns that guide them into the direction of the excavation site. So right now the tutorial is fully playable from start to finish, but it still needs a lot of polish to really bring this into its full potential. Hey, I just want to interrupt real quick and say thank you so much for the continued support. If you're enjoying this video, please leave a like and please subscribe if you want to keep updated to the project. Okay, I won't keep you any longer, back to the video. I actually did some internal testing on this tutorial just to see how other people would play the game. I had done some personal testing, but I'm not going to be a good example for how the game is going to be played. My experience is not representative of the average player. Since I made the game, I know what's coming, I know how to manage my resources, and nothing can really surprise me. So for example, my experience with the tutorial looks something like this. It takes me about 3 minutes to complete. I pretty much complete it with no damage, and also I come back with the best minerals available to me because I know exactly where they are. Now if I balance the game around my experience, it's not going to actually translate to being fun for a first time player. So in order to capture a bit of this authentic experience, I did actually do a little bit of testing. I always feel watching someone play my game will tell me more about my game than they can ever say. Just watching how they move around the world, interact with the objects, and also their emotional reaction to the game. Are they getting scared? Are they getting frustrated? Are they happy? Are they enjoying it? Etc. You can tell that just by watching. People won't convey that in conversation sometimes, so it's key if you want to get genuine feedback in your game, just watch someone play it. So I had someone actually play the tutorial from start to finish, and I got some really good feedback. Some of it was direct from them, telling me and feeding me information of what they liked and what they didn't like, and then some of it was just by watching. So for example, it took them far longer to complete the tutorial than it did me. It took them about 15 minutes. However, the way they played the game was exactly how I intended. They were making slow and methodical movements, taking care of themselves while navigating these difficult areas, and the tension was rising as they got deeper and deeper into this mine, which is exactly what I wanted. Just observing them and also viewing their reaction to certain mechanics in the game, such as the wall detection system, there's a little bit of frustration there because I think that the UI I'd currently designed was catered to me. I definitely understood what the UI was telling me, but it didn't really translate to them. There were some other issues, such as the pickups being very difficult to see and difficult to understand what was a mineral and what was an actual collectible. This was all really great information, and I continued to take some mental notes as they were playing the game and just jogging down ideas of how I could improve. Now, they did actually feedback some information to me that was very specific to their experience, and these changes are going to affect balancing. So instead of just hopping in and being eager to change these straight away, I just made note of them because ideally for balancing I need a much bigger sample size, as a handful of players just isn't enough to balance the game around, otherwise the experience is going to differ wildly from person to person. So after this small testing session I did some updates to the UI. First off, I fixed the collision detection system to look a lot cleaner and to be readable and understandable to the player. This is looking a lot better now, and I think it's actually representative of what I wanted as the end product. I changed the pickup to act slightly differently, be a little bit bigger, and also just have this little glisten effect on, which really sells the player that this is a reward, come pick this up. So moving on from testing, I did actually decide to take a look at my current mission system. It was pretty flimsy and a little bit buggy. I didn't really like working with it, and I figured that I might as well just scrap it and redesign. I spent about a week on this, just trying out different methods and trying to get the correct one, just because I really want to get this right. I don't want to have to refactor this again. So I made it so it was a lot more modular, easier to understand. The information was a lot more secure in these different places, and it just feels a lot more stable and easy to work with. Off the back of that, I linked all the relevant information to the player onto this UI screen, which they can segment that data into different areas. And again, I made this modular so I can change this if I need to. So that just about wraps up the actual progress of the game this video. A lot of my time has been spent refactoring things, fixing stuff and testing, so there's not actually been too much progress made on the game itself. However, this is all going to contribute, and I think it's going to be really valuable going forwards as I start to build out the playable areas of the game. So before I go, I'm just going to talk about a bit of a roadmap I have for this vertical slice. The whole idea of this phase of development is to take it from a prototype into a piece of work that represents the entire game. Now, I want people to play this and test it, give me feedback, and ultimately get sold on the game. I always like stuff like retro demo discs that you would get in magazines, or they would be sent out to publishers and stuff. I think nothing speaks louder than your game in marketing than letting someone play it before they buy it. As well as this, I think it'll just serve as a fantastic avenue for genuine feedback from people who have played your game and who are actually interested in seeing it through. So before I go, I'm going to take a look into the comments. Now, I've noticed a few questions coming through regarding the art style, either asking how I achieved it or if it's going to be changed at a later date. So I'll just quickly go over how I actually achieved the PlayStation 1 aesthetic or something close to it. So basically, I project the camera to a downscaled render texture, and then I take all the textures in the game, downscale them, and apply the filter type to be point no filter. If you combine this with models that are primitive and of a low poly count, you basically got a retro style. Now, you can go even further than this, such as adjust the aspect ratio, limit the colors on the screen, limit the FPS if you want to, but that's all I've done to achieve my current PlayStation 1 aesthetic. There's several shaders that are more in line with exactly how the PlayStation 1 looked, and definitely give you more of those limitations and a much more convincing look. However, I am just using this for now. I might end up changing in the future, I might not, but experiment with these kind of techniques and you'll get something similar to what I've got. Now, I got asked if I was going to change this at a later date, and I'm just going to actually address why I'm using this style. So there's a few reasons. The main one, I absolutely love retro games. I love the PlayStation 1 aesthetic, and I've always been interested in making a game like this. I've attempted many times, but this is my first game that I'm going all the way with. Now, as well as this, there's benefits to using a retro style. One, it's cohesive and stylized, so it'll give your game a cohesive look. It's much easier to produce as a solo developer with limited time. And on top of that, I actually think it works really well for horror. There's something very uncanny about the PlayStation 1 aesthetics and a little bit abstract and a little bit weird that sells an odd feeling. Yeah, so that's basically my reasoning for using this style. If you want to see like an in-depth tutorial on how to achieve PlayStation 1 aesthetics, I will just link some below in the descriptions from some sources I've watched. Also, I could even do one myself if you would like that. If you want me to do it, drop it in the comments. So we actually reached the end of the video now. I just want to say thank you so much for all the continued supports, all the likes and subscribes, which if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. If you guys have got any interesting projects you want to spread the word about, please drop them in the comments. I like to read everything, and I love getting inspiration and ideas from you guys, and also I like to keep up to date with your guys' projects as well. Okay, so stay tuned next month for another devlog. Alright, I'll see you in the next one.